Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Advisor with Stacey Chillemi. Today, I'm so excited because we have Dr. Stephanie Barnes back today. She's part of our podcast community, and she is an amazing individual. She also has her own podcast on our channel. You need to check it out because she has such amazing episodes that will change your life forever. And she's here today. She's going to talk about embracing the petals of the fulfillment pillars. And she has some great advice. And for anyone who doesn't know what the pillars are, and you're saying, what is the petals of fulfillment? What are and you're like questioning that. Well, you're going to find out today, and it's going to be very useful, and yet you could apply it to your everyday life, so you could really feel fulfilled and happy and have that joy in your life that you really are looking for. So Dr. Stephanie, I am so happy to have you back on the show today, and it is always an honor to have you here. Tell everybody like what you mean when you talk about embracing the petals of the fulfillment pillar.
All right. Well, I'm certainly excited to be back and grateful to have this opportunity to expand on being successful and fulfilled. Now, if you really want to get the full spiel, you got to go back and listen to rather the previous episode, but I'll give you a brief introduction so that you can listen to everything in context today. So, as successful, as high achieving women, we should not choose between being successful or fulfilled. We all deserve to be successful and fulfilled. And I believe that being successful and fulfilled is built on three pillars. And those pillars are fulfilled, fit, and free. And when you think about how you organize your life, pillars are foundational. And for the successful and fulfilled woman, we've got three petals or three pillars rather, that when we commit to developing the petals, and I'm going to get into that,
Mhm.
within each of them, we have a solid foundation for being successful and fulfilled. So today we'll chat about the petals of the fulfillment pillar.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So when you talk about the fulfillment pillar, what are the 10 petals of the fulfillment pillar?
Yes. Well, there are 10 petals total
Mhm.
of successful and fulfilled. And underneath the fulfillment pillar are four petals. And those petals deal with, when you think about well, let me just back up and say, when I was trying to explain these concepts, I love the aspect of a rose. And, roses have petals. And, we experience um, great things in our lives and being able to use the analogy of the petal, all of these things go together to create beauty.
Yes.
So each petal in each of these pillars, when approached together, give us the beauty of being successful and fulfilled. And underneath the fulfillment pillar are four petals, and these are aspects of our lives that really deal with who we are as a person. It's our relationships with our friends,
Mhm.
our family, our romantic or love interests, and the most important one, I believe, is purpose. So
Yeah.
those are the four petals underneath the fulfillment pillar. It's kind of like what do you call it? An alliteration
Yeah.
too.
Mhm.
The four petals.
I love it. So, what would be the first pedal that brings you to that
Yes.
feeling of success and fulfillment?
Right. Well, the first relationship that we ever develop is the relationship with our family. And it's the only relationship that is not one that we necessarily choose. We are born to and in a family. And
Yeah.
along with that comes the family dynamics. And most often, who we are is shaped by what we've learned from our families. And I
Yes.
was thinking about a conversation, with my father a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about, just some of his health patterns. And he referenced how he did what his mother did, which is my grandmother.
Hmm.
And, and I thought about that being just one of the best examples of how we develop our identity in this world initially from our family.
Yeah.
We live with them, so we see what they do every day, and a lot of the habits, our cultural beliefs, our religious beliefs, everything about us is shaped
Yes.
with our family, from our families. And so the relative health of our relationship with our family can impact who we are and impact how we relate to others.
Right.
Because, the relationship, say, between a father and a daughter, oftentimes can shape the relationship that daughter may have with romantic interest. Because,
Yeah.
we liken that relationship to the first relationship we've had with our dad. So, coming to terms with our family is really very important, and making sure that we have a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And one of the things I always like to remind people of is we don't have very much choice as a child as to
Right.
who our family is.
Yeah.
We get born into a family, we're adopted by a family, we're raised by a family. But the great thing about being a child is that it ends, we become adults, and we get to make choices for ourselves. So it's
Right.
really important to reflect on what we've learned from our family and make a decision. Is this what's good for me now? And
Yes.
is this what I need in order to ensure that generations from me will have an even better life? So that's the first petal. That's our relationship with our families.
Oh, I love that. And it's so funny when you were mentioning about, that we sometimes are attracted to people, like sons will be attracted to their mom, with characteristics that their mothers carry, and the fathers and the daughters, tend to the daughters will, look for somebody who has those characters too. And it kind of follows through sometimes as a cycle, so
Right.
so it's sometimes it could be good and sometimes it could be bad. But
Right.
it's like learning, I always say it's if you see behaviors, because our parents aren't perfect. They do the best job they can,
Right.
and that's it.
Right.
But if you see parents and sometimes, as you get older, if you realize certain behaviors might not be good, make it, a conscious effort to try to see if you could do it differently and kind of break the habit. Because,
Right.
sometimes people
Right.
repeat our behaviors of what we see, and we do it subconsciously too.
Right, because you don't know any differently. You know what you learn. And like
Yeah.
one thing, I always tell my sons, I have two grown sons, they're 25 and 22. And the thing I've told them, even as they were entering into like their teen years and now that they're adults, that what they've learned from me and their dad is what they've learned from me and their dad. And if there are things about the way we raise them that they don't like, guess what? They get the opportunity to change that for their children. Or
Yes.
if there are things that we've taught them that don't align with where they want to go in life now, they have the freedom to choose that. And that's something that we always have to think about is, our parents are models, whether it's a role model that we want to follow or a model that we're like, don't want anything like that.
Yeah.
We have the power of choice, and we get to choose what we take from our parents and what we continue, and we get to choose what ends with our parents.
Right. Very true. Very true. And when you go into the second pillar, what is the second pillar all about?
Yeah. So the second petal is, our friends, because we all have and need friends. Growing up as a small child, you have your playmates. In your teen years, you grow your friends. And if you're lucky, some of the friends you had as a child remain your friends. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
today I was excited to plan a trip with my best friend since the sixth grade.
Oh,
We
I
have
love
been
that.
able to maintain those relationships. But friends are very important relationships because usually these are the first relationships that we get to choose. As
Right.
a child, you may be in a classroom, but you get to choose who your buddy is. You get to choose who you want to play with. And as we become adults, we get to choose our friends.
Yes.
Sometimes they're our coworkers, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're our neighbors. But
Yeah.
it is really important to embrace the agency that we have when it comes to choosing who we are around. And this is really very important because our friends are influences, our
Yes.
family is an influence, people around us are influences. And it's really important that as we get on this path of being successful and fulfilled, that we exercise agency in choosing who we allow to influence us.
Right.
And last year, as a matter of fact, I did kind of a girlfriend inventory and I thought about, the women who are in my life, the type of women I would love to connect with. And I was
Yeah.
very intentional in cultivating new relationships and nurturing others. And some I discontinued or changed so that the influences in my life align with where I'm going, not where I've been. So
Right.
it's really important in this fulfillment pedal to of your friends is to exercise that agency and really think about, who am I? Who do
Hmm.
I desire to be? And how does this person influence the trajectory that I desire to have? So, friends are our voluntary relationships, and it's so important that we exercise that agency and we not get into this no new friends concept where we think that, well, we've always been friends, so we should, and
Hmm.
recognize that, friendships, just like anything else, evolve. And
Yeah.
what you hope is that your friendship evolves along with you. But there's some friends that evolve and they reach their maturity and you transform that relationship into something else.
Yes. And that happens a lot too. It
Right,
definitely does.
right, right.
So, when it comes to the third pedal, what is the
Mhm.
third pedal?
Oh, the third petal is love. Our relationships with our romantic partners. And, everybody needs love. I love love. Sometimes I think maybe love doesn't love me, but I love love. And, it's really important to be intentional and again exercise that agency
Yeah.
in our romantic relationships because
Yeah.
there's a human need for relationships. We are social creatures,
Yes.
and of course the evolution, if you will, of those relationships, family to friend to love interest, is
Yes.
really important and ensuring that at every step along the way, it's healthy. And
Right.
as I alluded to earlier, sometimes who we choose as a love interest is influenced by our family
Yes.
relationship. It can be influenced by our friends. And it's really important to decide what love means for you and
Yeah.
how to align your love interest with the way you desire to be loved. Because
Yeah.
if you're super affectionate and you want, your love language, you can read about, the five love languages, but if your love language is affection and you
Hmm.
choose someone who doesn't really like affection, well, that's already a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's fatal to the relationship. But again, this is all about being mindful and
Yeah.
intentional. And I'll tell you, I read a trilogy. It's I call it the Love series, but it's by Bell Hooks.
Hmm.
And she wrote three books called Love that that look at love and relationships. And I read the first book in 21,
Hmm.
21, 22, 22. And it really talked about kind of weaving all of these aspects together and how our culture, our
Yeah.
family, our friends influences how we and what we tolerate in love relationships. And
Right.
it's so important to understand that we deserve love
Yeah.
and love doesn't have to hurt and love should be something that's fulfilling, mutually fulfilling. And again,
Yeah.
just being intentional
Hmm.
about cultivating love because you can't receive love if you are not love yourself and
Yeah.
if you do not love yourself.
Yeah.
So this is looking at self-love as much as it is looking at how we cultivate our romantic relationships.
Oh, I like that. I like that. And how does someone search for love in their life? Like, how do they know what the type of love they need? Is there something that you do
Yeah, because
kind of
yeah,
dig into yourself and
yeah, because sometimes it's yeah, because sometimes you can think of it as kind of trial and error, you
yeah,
know. Um, but really, if you're looking at it from an intentional perspective, you can use the models that you've seen in your family.
yeah,
You can use the models that you've seen as you've developed your friends, and you think about what, because end of the day, my personal opinion
Yeah.
is that, the person that I love is a friend,
Yeah.
because in addition to all the romantic aspects, you got to like each other and enjoy
Yeah.
spending time with each other. So I think, looking at the models of love that you've seen and deciding for yourself what works for you. I think
Right.
that's the basis,
Yeah.
or basis of beginning to determine, what it is that you love or what it is you desire from a love interest relationship. So it's looking at what you've seen model, and again exercising that agency in
Yeah.
deciding what do I want to experience with the person that I love. You
Right.
become it because I believe
Mhm.
it's reciprocal,
Yeah.
and you attract as well, and then you cultivate it
Right.
because the initial aspect of the relationship, may be what you desire, but if you desire for it to be long term, you have to cultivate it and nurture it.
Yes, very true. So true. Now, what is the fourth pillar, the petal?
Yeah. The fourth petal of the fulfillment pillar, and I have to say it slow so I can get
I know it's
it.
a tongue tire if you say it
Right,
fast.
right. The fourth petal is purpose. And I believe that all of us have a purpose.
Yes.
And sometimes this purpose is related to our profession, many times it's not. But I've alluded to this before, but studies show that people who live who live long and healthy, they have
Hmm.
health and wealth in all aspects, they have a meaning into their life. Their life has meaning. And
Yeah.
so it's important for us to have a purpose.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first was introduced to the concept of purpose and what this meant.
Yeah.
And it was at a time where I was a healthcare executive and I kind of tapped out, if you will, the level of development that I could in the position I held at that time. Because I was
Yeah.
chief compliance officer, then I became chief legal officer, and I kind of optimized my growth development in that area. And so
Yeah.
I could go to another organization and take on another bigger challenge, or I
Hmm.
could grow within this organization. And really, the only thing above me was CEO, and I didn't really want to be CEO of a health system. That's a whole another profession that it requires a skill set that I can do, but wasn't interested in doing.
Right.
So I started thinking about, well, how do I find my purpose in life? And I
Right.
began studying and really uh, began to articulate, what I believe my mission is. And my baseline mission and everything I do is to inspire excellence in others.
Yeah.
And I have been able to articulate that since I think 2008, 2009, when I first started this journey.
Yeah.
And thought about, in everything that I do, what is something that's consistent? And
Right.
it was inspiring excellence in others. I love to help other people become better. I
Hmm.
did that with my team. I did that with my family. I did that with myself. So
Right.
that's like personal purpose is to inspire excellence in others. And professionally over time, I have learned that my my mission now is to create media that enhances and enriches the lives of women and girls. And I
Yeah.
do that through my podcast, I do it through coaching, I do it through books. And
Right.
so knowing what my purpose is gives me fulfillment. It helps to cement me, and I'm not just floating around in the world. I know why I'm here, and
Yeah.
I'm able to gauge where I expend my resources, time, energy according to my purpose. And I believe everyone has a purpose. And
Yeah.
and we have iterations of that. And we may have a purpose in different areas in our life. Like for me, my professional and personal purpose are aligned, but they're not exactly the same.
Hmm.
And I believe that each of us ought to be able to articulate, why are we here?
Yeah.
Why, what is it about us that adds value to others? And sometimes we discount the value that we have because it's
Yeah.
not something that is connected to a profession or a trade.
Right.
So important for us to realize that everyone has a purpose.
Yes.
Everyone matters. And when you
Hmm.
know that you matter and your life has meaning, it in, empowers you to be fulfilled. So that is, I believe, the most important petal in
Yeah.
the petal because it transcends all of those different relationships and it transcends everything that we encounter. And when we identify our purpose, then we are able to articulate the meaning that our life has. And it also guides the decisions that we make in all areas of our life.
Oh, very true. Very true. And very well said. It makes me wonder, there's people out there, th hundreds of thousands of people who search for years. They search for decades trying to figure out what is my true purpose in life.
Mhm.
And if you really
Mhm.
look at it from a fulfillment point of view, if you say, what really fulfills me? What brings joy in my life? What brings happiness? What inspires me to get out of bed and want to start the day?
Mhm.
That's your purpose.
Yes,
And
yes,
I think people can't make it complex, but if you think about it, the
right.
way you're discussing it, it really could be very simple for people to try to find their purpose in life.
Right. And it's something that's something that I do with my clients actually, because I believe that it's important for them to know why.
Yeah.
Why do they want to do this thing? Why is this important?
Yeah.
Some women are wanting to change careers, other women are wanting to start a business, or some women are just wanting to become a higher and better version of themselves. And
Yeah.
it all boils down to, well, why? What
Right.
difference is it going to make? And when you know that the difference is going to make is you being able to live and show up in your purpose, it
Hmm.
fuels your motivation. It helps you to know where you're going. I call it the beckoning light
Yeah.
because it is something that guides you. You can see it, it pulls you, it pushes you,
Hmm.
and it is something that truly gives you that fire that you need to strike out in the world and
Yeah.
live who you were meant to be.
100%. 100%. So what is number five? What's petal number five?
No, it's just four. It's just four. Yeah,
Oh,
because
it's
this one,
just four.
it's four
Oh,
petals in this pillar. It's 10 overall, but it's
okay.
four in this
I
one. Yeah.
I thought we were doing all 10 today. Okay.
No, no,
You're
no.
saving
We're
it. You're
getting,
saving it. All
yeah.
right. You're giving everybody the hook. It's like, all right,
Yes,
come
yes.
listen to my next episode if you want to really check out
Right,
the other
that's
ones.
right.
Yeah.
And I want people to be able to digest it because this is a lot. We're talking about pillars, we're talking about petals, and it's important to kind of break it down in this
Yeah.
way. One, so that it is manageable and you are able to really synthesize the
Yeah.
information because there is such a thing as information overload.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I have, had discussions around the petals where I do talk about all 10, but I break it down here and tie it to a pillar so that
Yeah.
people are able to organize their lives around this. So,
Right.
we know that in order for us to be successful and fulfilled, we need to have fulfillment, we need
Yes.
to be fit, we need to be free, and then the petals really give you the how.
Yeah.
How are you able to achieve fulfillment?
Right.
Having good family relationships, friend relationships, love relationships, and knowing and living your purpose.
I love this. How did you become so passionate and how, with trying to help women and being able to figure out these pillars? Were these things that kind of helped you in your own life and then you kind of customized it in a
Yes,
sense?
exactly, exactly. Right, because I have been committed to finding my own fulfillment.
Yeah.
And I experienced a traumatic event. I experienced a divorce after 21 years, and that's just a huge disruption, changed my
Oh,
whole life.
yeah.
And so when that traumatic event happened, when that disruption happened, I believe in this concept. I've said it before, disruptive elevation.
Yeah.
Every disruption in our life has the ability to either elevate us or sink us. And it's up
Yes.
to us to decide we're going to be elevated. And as I was taking on my new life and starting over again, I said, well, this time, one, I have all this wisdom
Yes.
of the years leading up to that. And
Hmm.
I have a choice. I can decide if I want to allow this disruption to derail my life and be miserable all the time, talking about this man that left me.
Hmm.
No, or I can characterize it as, that relationship reached its maturity, and now I have the ability to move on and have my own life and do it in a way that is mindful and intentional and purposeful. So, as I started to think about this journey to fulfillment and how I would characterize it, over the course of like a couple of days, I started to just think about, well, what do I need to be successful
Right.
and fulfilled? And I was like, well, I need to be fulfilled. And then I thought, and I need to be fit because in fitness, and we'll go into that the next time, but that's an important aspect of it.
Yeah.
And I want to be free.
Hmm.
That's why I say that I'm a healthcare innovation attorney by day and the liberated lawyer all the time because I'm liberated. I have the freedom of choice and the power of
Yes.
choice. And this is something that I want for myself, but I want every woman to be
Yeah.
successful and fulfilled. And I was particularly inspired by my mom.
Hmm.
My mom and I had a conversation one day, and she was, insinuating that, it was too late for her because she's like, well, it's something I should have done when I was younger. It's too late for me because I'm older. I was like, no,
Yes.
we should all fulfill. There's no expiration date on
Nope.
fulfillment, or is there a deferment date that says you got to wait until XYZ to be fulfilled? Be fulfilled right now. So this
Exactly.
is something I'm truly passionate about. And I hope you can see it. I hope you can feel it.
I could feel
But
it.
if we're going to be in this world, we feel good, good, good,
Yes.
good.
And I love how you say there is no expiration because there isn't. I've seen so many people think,
Oh,
okay, I got to this age and they consider themselves old. And oh no, I can't do this. I can't do that because I've hit this
mm,
age and life is over. What kind of mentality is that? And when you talked about your divorce, like I think of friends, and I think of people I know that after they got divorced, they did not look to excel anymore. They focused so much on what the other spouse was doing and they compared themselves and they were like, well, they're doing this. Oh, they found somebody else. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at this. And they were so immersed in what the other person was doing,
yeah,
they became so unhealthy and unhappy,
right.
and I
Yeah.
think a lot of times that unhappiness that if we're not
Hmm.
fulfilled and we allow unhappiness to enter our life, I seriously, believe this affects our health. This,
It
and,
does. Oh
you
my
know,
gosh, it does. Yes. Yeah.
you have to have a healthy mindset and you have to want it, and anybody could have that fulfillment. Everybody has the opportunity. We just
Yeah.
have to really understand how to get it. And these petals are great because, step by step, like you said. And I like that you broke it up, and we didn't go over the 10 ones because sometimes it is too much. If you get too much
Right.
information sometimes, it's hard to process it. But if you
Right.
break it down, you're like, okay, and then you put some thought process in afterwards, and then it starts to like resonate, and then you start to think about it, and then you start to apply it, then you start noticing the change, and then you kind of bring it into your daily life, and then it becomes routine. And after a while, and if it's really working great and you love it and you're doing it and you're feeling great and fulfilled, it becomes so natural that you don't even realize you're doing it. It's just part of you.
Right. And that's really the point is, for fulfillment to be a part of the fabric of who you are. It's
Yes.
not something that you have to, expend a lot of energy in doing, although of course you expend energy, but
Yeah.
it is just who you are. You
Yeah.
wake up and you are keyed into how can I align my day with fulfillment. And
Yes.
it's something again that all of us deserve. It's a
Yeah.
right. We
Yeah.
shouldn't be miserable. And
No.
the thing I always want to back up and say, this being fulfilled doesn't mean that your life is perfect and you never experience any disruption and you've never experienced any sadness or anger. You're human. You're going to experience that. And it's unrealistic to think that you're going to get to this state of fulfillment and the whole world is going to align with what you want and your life is going to be perfect. No,
Yeah.
fulfillment is a foundation.
Right.
It is a feeling, it is a way of looking at things. It influences how you see things
Hmm.
and how you respond to whatever happens in your life. And
Right.
the important thing to recognize is that it is critical to experience fulfillment at your low as much as you experience it at your high.
Right.
Because it's not tied to condition, it's a tied to how you feel and what you believe and what you're working towards. So
Right.
fulfillment is aspirational, it's experiential, but
Hmm.
it's also transformative. It's
Yes.
also transformative and dynamic. So fulfillment, may look a certain way when you're here. It may look a
Mhm.
certain way when you're there. It may look
Yeah.
a certain way when you're, at your peak. But it also evolves too. Everything evolves. The
Yes.
world evolves. People evolve. Our feelings evolve. Our, relationships evolve. And evolution, again, is just natural. And it's
Yeah.
allowing your life to grow and
Mhm.
expand and transform.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. This is awesome. If we had to take today's session and we wanted to go over some important aspects of this conversation, what are some things you'd like to emphasize to the listeners today?
Yeah, the first thing that I want to emphasize is you deserve to be fulfilled. You
Mhm.
deserve to be fulfilled. The second thing is you have agency in your fulfillment. You have agency in your relationships, from family to friends to love. You have agency. And then the third thing that I would say is your life matters. You have a purpose, and
Mhm.
it's important for you to listen to your life. And what I mean by that is look at the things that you've excelled at over and over again. What makes you joyful? What is something that you would do every day with if no one paid for it?
Yeah.
If you never got another dime, it's something that you would do, and just really tap into what your life means
Mhm.
and what your purpose is, because you have one. And
Yeah.
when you find that purpose, it really helps to fuel your fulfillment in other areas of your life, in all areas of your life.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Now, tell me about the services that you provide.
Yes, yes. Well, I help women, high achieving women, to live a life that is fulfilled, fit, and free. And I do that through what I call my new you transformation VIP experience. And this is designed for high achieving women who don't want to spend all year. They don't have 6 weeks. They don't have 12 weeks. They don't have 6 months. They want to get it done. They have a little bit of an idea, but they
Yeah.
need help in bringing that out. And I work with them over 2 days in
Mhm.
a luxury setting where they are able to dedicate focus to them. They don't have
Yeah.
to, they're away from their families, they're away from their jobs, they're away from distractions, and it's all about them. But
Yes.
over the course of these days, we are able to design a blueprint for their lives, whether they are looking to change careers, accelerate their careers, they're starting over after a divorce, they
Hmm.
are trying to ensure that their 50s, their golden years are the best years, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I help them to develop a blueprint
Mhm.
that taps into their what they're excited about and what they want to do next in their life. And they literally leave that session with a plan that they can implement immediately. They don't have to wait to
Yeah.
figure it. Immediately they get it.
Oh, I love this. I love this. Now, where can people find you?
I make it easy for you. You can go to my website, drstephaniedbarnes.com. Make sure you put the D in it. But it's very easy to find me. You can find out a little bit more about me. You can get to my podcast. You can get to my blog. You can schedule your revelation conversation. And the revelation conversation is an introductory conversation where we get to decide, how you can benefit from the new you transformation VIP experience.
I love that. So I assume that the VIP experience is listed also on the website.
Yes, 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 it is. So
Awesome.
everything you need to find out about Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes, you go to drstephaniedbarnes.com.
I love it. Well, this has been amazing, Dr. Stephanie. I always love when you come on the show. You are just, you're always positive. You always have great advice, and I love the petals of fulfillment, and I love how you talk about it and how it relates to success, how it relates to happiness, how it relates to joy, the most important things in life. Every high achieving woman wants to feel a level of success, and it's not
Yes,
always about the money. It's because we want to feel achieved. We want to feel accomplished. We want to feel that we've left
right.
our legacy. When we leave and cross over to the heavens, we want to make sure our footprint is in the ground and we did something that's positive and something that's good, something that's going to be a wonderful change in this world, and we know that we were part of it. And
Yes.
and it's so wonderful to be able to go through life feeling happy and to have joy in our lives, because there's so many people out there that haven't experienced happiness, or they lost it along the way because of whatever may happen in their lives. And to have to go through life and not feel happy inside and not feel joy in their life is a terrible feeling. It's a way
Yes.
that nobody should live, And so I love what you do, and I love the pillars that you've talked about so far in today's episode. Yes, the last week's episode, I think you're just amazing, and I love that you broke it down into such easy way of remembering it. And I love the concept of the rose, because when you do think about all these pillars and if you put it together as petals, you do end up with a beautiful rose, and roses
Yes.
smell pretty. Life can be pretty,
Yes.
and a rose brings happiness. So you look at a rose, someone gives you a rose, it doesn't matter who it is. It puts a smile on somebody's face because it's
Yes.
beautiful, and it represents joy and happiness. Because think about it, it just represents a new beginning in my eyes.
Right. 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 And as I always say, life is too long to be unfulfilled. So
Yes.
today is a great day to get everything you desire and deserve, and you ought to go get it.
Yes, I agree 100%. Well, thank you, Dr. Stephanie. This has been amazing. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. And it's always great to talk to you.
And it's always great to talk to you too. You have a great day.
You too.